All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. We'll go ahead and get kicked off. This is the Semantic Kernel office hours for October 9th. Thank you all for joining. This is publicly recorded as a reminder, and we'll post it out on our YouTube channel in another couple days. So, as a reminder, we have office hours at this time every Wednesday. We have a QR code there. If you don't have this as a recurring meeting on your calendar, you can do that now. We also have APAC office hours. That'll be later tonight. So if you have peers in those time frames, or if you need to peel off early today and join us tonight, you can do that as well. All right, so we have a few new releases to call out. So we have .NET's 1.22 that was released yesterday. A lot of changes there, so check out the link from GitHub. I posted that in the chat. There's more than just those first few. We also have a Python update that was released last week. So 1.11 is also available out there. It has a number of items and fixes, so check that out. Also, if you are a Python engineer. And we're going to talk about our documentation. I have a link in the chat for our Learn sites. We're actually going to deep dive into this today. The team's been working hard based on your feedback to make sure our documentation is up to date. Kind of covers all the different topics. The last few sessions, we covered some of the process framework updates, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the agent framework updates that just came in. And also what we're going to do today is we'll talk a little bit of our roadmap. Again, we are in the public, so you can see everything the team is working on in our backlog. So to do that, go to GitHub, click on Projects, Semantic Kernel, and you'll be able to see what the backlog looks like in real time. And also, the other quick updates, we have a new blog post that came out yesterday talking about Microsoft.extensions.ai. Check that out. Again, there's a link to the blog sites, and it's the first one that'll show up for you. It's really for ISVs and our AI partners that have services that want to build .NET connectors. They can start to use this Microsoft.extensions.ai, and that'll make it very easy for them. We'll be able to pull that in once they start to do that. So, and it has a bunch of details about what that means for that community. All right. So with all that said, again, like I mentioned, we have some new agent documentation. So I'm going to pull it over to Evan Matson, who's going to walk us through the new updates for our agent framework that's been out really since almost a year now. We've done a big overhaul to make it easier for you to dive in and get started there. So Evan, you want to take it away?
Yep, sounds good. Let me share. So Chris, Rickman, and myself have been working on updating the agent framework Learn site documentation over the past few weeks. Chris, if you're on the call, if you want to interject at any point, please do. But we'll just give you a walkthrough about what's available, and let's have a look. So when you navigate to the Semantic Kernel Learn site, you'll notice on the left side there's a Frameworks section. So you click on the Frameworks, and then you'll see a new agent framework that we published last night. So we've been working hard on getting all this information into the Learn site doc. We know there's been getting started with agent samples in C# and Python. Wanted to get that available to you all here. We know a lot of people rely on this Learn site documentation. Not everybody loves to go look at code right off the bat. So you can choose between a C# and a Python pivot. As agents aren't available yet in Java, that will be coming soon once they are released. But we can step through, and really wanted to try to walk everybody through. If nobody has an idea what an agent is, how does it work in Semantic Kernel, we wanted to bring this to you from a starting point and let you walk through why you may want to use an agent, when to use an agent, and then how to get started installing agents in either C# or Python. So we have various sections, as you can see, with the kind of table of contents here, what the page has the goal, what the goal is for the page, pardon me, the agent. We actually did update the Python API documentation to include the agent framework. It still is a little bit in progress as we're trying to get some of the base class, the pydantic model attribute to not show up, but that we do have a lot of the information now available in Python, and it has been available in C# as well. So want to walk you through, what is an agent chat? What does a channel mean? How does it align with the semantic kernel in our SDK? We have the chat completion agent, which is one of the agents available. So really, this is going to walk you through some of the code samples, what it means to create the service, and then exploring an AI assistant agent. Again, trying to just give a high level of some of the code samples that are here, and agent collaboration. What is it? How do you hook up an agent chat? We have agent chats available between chat completion agents and OpenAI assistant agents. So what we refer to as a mixed chat. So all this is here. We'd love for you to kind of poke around, see if hopefully things make sense as you read through. If not, we, as always, love the feedback and want to make things as clear as possible for you. One thing to call out here is we do have some code samples now. So how to create a chat completion agent, how to do an assistant agent with a code interpreter, how to create an assistant agent with a file search, and then how to do a group chat. So we're going to click on one of these, again, toggling between the language of your choice. It's going to walk you through the entire code that you would need to set this up in your own application. So each step is kind of broken down into the step you would be doing as you're writing it on your end. And then if we go all the way down between all these steps, we have everything together. So essentially you can just copy this, paste it into your console application, whatever application you're developing in, and then run it on your end. So 4 of these different samples are available. You can see group chat, again, walking you through each section. We can do Python pivot this time. And then all the way at the bottom, we have all the pieces together so that you can essentially copy this and run it in your own application. These are available in the Semantic Kernel repo under the Learn resources. And so that's another place for you to go. We make some call outs about using plugins. Those plugins and other sample files are in that Learn resource, but we have links to those. So this is really exciting. We have spent a lot of time. Hopefully this is useful for all of you. And again, please give us your feedback as you look through these and work through the code samples and what. So that is what I have for now. Back to you, Evan. Or Chris.
Yeah,
Chris, if
thanks.
you want to say anything else anything I missed, or otherwise to you, Evan.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So it looks like one question in the chat. Before we get to there, I just want to call out a few things. There's a question we get all the time. Hey, what's the difference between chat completion agent and OpenAI assistance API agent? So the assistance API, whether you use it in OpenAI or Azure OpenAI, is fully managed for you. So this is an agent that you can upload files to, and it'll chunk them, and it has something called a thread ID, which is like this chat and chat history that is managed for you. The chat completion is where you can still use agents, but you kind of create that whole service yourself. So you would stand up your chat history, and maybe you want to store that in Cosmos DB or something like that. And that's where it's sometimes important, where you want to use maybe the assistance API plus your own agents, so you have that option. So it looks like we also have Joshua has a question in the chat. When possible, let's see. I have a technical question with a trouble with agents group chats. So Joshua, do you want to come off mute and ask your question? And I think Chris and Evan can probably help you out. Also, if you want to let us know if this is on Python or C# also.
Okay, you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, thank you. It's C sharp, and I'm actually using since quite some time the agent group chat and everything. Before this documentation came out, I had to check the samples given with the source code of Semantic Kernel, and so far so good. Everything seems to work as expected. Just one trouble I'm finding now is that I tried to uh, use handlebars inside the agent prompt in the group chat. So basically, I need an agent that is able to generate an handlebar template for mapping some JSON to another JSON. When doing this in a semantic function, it works good. But when an agent handles the directive for the template, for the handlebar template, so you actually say to the agent, let's generate this handlebar template, and this is a sample. As you know, the handlebar template has the brackets and everything, and it seems to not handle good the fact that the indication have all the brackets and maybe handlebar helpers and so on, and so it crashes because it either takes the samples given of the handlebar template as variables or handlebar helpers. So basically, when you specify a template in a semantic function, you can specify if it's a semantic kernel template or a handlebars template, and so it handles it well. But in the agent, I didn't find a way to specify that, and so it crashes because it tries to manage the handlebar template as a semantic kernel template. I would like to know if it's possible to do that.
Yeah, Chris, do you want to take that?
Joshua, Chris here. So I've linked a couple samples into the chat. Sounds like you're familiar with the samples, so you may have already seen this. But in the sample, I believe we are using a handlebars template for one of the examples, and what you'll need to do, so for instance on line 64 of the chat completion one, you can see, so if you just specifying an instruction template, it's going to default to the kernel template format, as you said. If you want to use a different format, just as with the prompt template, you'll need to explicitly pass in the template factory that matches the format that you desire. So in the sample here, we're showing handlebars, liquid, and I think those are the two main ones, and then two different ways of doing it. So
yeah, yeah.
So yep. So so if you're seeing it default to the kernel template format, I wonder if are you passing in a factory?
Nope. I didn't find this
It's pretty
sample
new.
before, so
Yeah,
maybe
no
this is
problem.
the solution.
Yep.
Okay, I will try. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for asking the question, Joshua. Any other questions on agent framework or anything while we're on that topic? Okay, well, hopefully the new Learn sites will be helpful for everybody. I did want to cover one more thing, and then we'll open it up for any type of question or guidance that you're looking for. We also, like I mentioned at the beginning, we have our backlog. It's out there always for you to take a look at. I did want to highlight, since we are coming up to the end of our semester, I wanted to share a little bit with this group of how you can go and see what the team is working on and really focused on for the next 6 weeks or so. So we have, if you go to our backlog, so you just go to our repo, which you put a link in the chat for. It's just the GitHub/Microsoft/Semantic Kernel. Go to projects, you'll see the Semantic Kernel project here. And what we have is we have a label for Ignites, which is our customer conference coming up in mid-November. This will be online. We'll have a session from the Semantic Kernel team that you'll be able to watch at your leisure, either on live or on demand. So we'll get that blog post out in the next few weeks with all the Semantic Kernel sessions that will be at Ignites. But if you wanted to see, like I can see what Chris is working on, Chris is just talking about agents. We have some work here to make sure the serialization is working as expected. So again, you can go through with that Ignite tag and you can see in order who's working on what, so you can drill in. You can add comments if you have any. So definitely check this out. Again, because we have everything that's live in real time as our team and you as the community are also working on a lot of these items with us, you can go and see what's happening. So definitely check that out. That's out here for you all the time. All right, so let's switch back over and let's talk a little bit about your questions. So this is a time where you can either raise your hand, come off mute, whatever you want, and ask a question. And let's see, I see there is a question in the chat. So is there any middleware available before or after agent execution in a group chat? So using things like filters or hooks. Evan or Chris, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, not currently, but it's absolutely on our radar. We have a task on the backlog for that. We recognize that that's a important feature for a lot of usage patterns. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, you definitely want that, being able to call out to things like prompt shields or other types of outside services before or after with agents to make sure that they're as secure as everyone else.
Yeah, I was just working with an internal customer too that was showing me a pattern they were using that just highlighted for me again the relevancy of including this in the loop. So it's absolutely on my radar. Thank you for highlighting it.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's see. Again, feel free to either come off mute or raise your virtual hand here from the raise hand feature in Teams if you have questions or guidance you'd like from the team. So who's up next? Wow, everyone is so successful with Semantic Kernel. This is great.
Hey, hi, Ivan.
Hello.
One more question apart from this function filters, like related to the JSON output generation or response structured output generation. So how a streaming mechanism is working or how to behave in a structured output scenario?
For agents or just in general?
Not for agents, even in single agents or normal prompt chat.
Yeah, so who'd like to take that one, or I can, and I am gonna paste in I know a lot of people ask about streaming with agents, and we have a Learn site on this now, so I'll paste that in.
So this is not specific to agents because as per the latest updates from Semantic Kernel, one of the new features supported is structured output based on the new Open API releases, right? So when we are enabling the structured output as a response or as a configuration to the Semantic Kernel, how it will behave when the streaming is enabled?
So I can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dimitri,
go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are you specific to .NET or Python?
.NET.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, whether it's streaming or non-streaming scenario, as soon as you enable structure output, you will and you're using Semantic Kernel as a response, you can receive a string, right? But take into account that you enable structure output, the string will be in specific format. So you can take that string and you can deserialize it to a specific # type. So this is
Okay.
for non-streaming scenario, and in streaming scenario it will be the same, but in streaming scenario, instead of like receiving an entire string of formatted response, you will receive string chunks. So on your side, in order to be able to work with it and deserialize it to a specific type, you will need to, collect all of the chunks during the streaming scenario, and then as soon as you have all of the chunks, you can just like combine them together, deserialize them to specific type, and then you should be able to work with the concrete type. If that answers your question.
Okay, so to make my understand is correct, like we have to complete the streaming, then get the response, then deserialize it, then use it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you'll definitely want to wait for that whole JSON to be returned, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That makes sense,
break.
but just want to make sure that our understanding is also correct. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, of
Thank
course. That was good. Good question. I put a few links into the chat. If you're not familiar with structured output, it is awesome. It's great to get that JSON, especially with some of the new models that will guarantee 100% formatting. So definitely take advantage of that. Let's see. Roy has a good question. Any advantage to using streaming in the case I'm doing structured output then?
I mean, streaming is useful when you don't want your end user to wait for the entire response, and you want to see this chat experience when new character to your response is added in live, so your end user basically can read the response in real time, right? So in terms of like structure output, it's like, I'm not sure there's a big advantage to use streaming in this case, because in structure output, like basically like the purpose of structure output is to enable the scenario for you as a developers to work with the strong types in your applications, right? So if you expect something from the model which should be structured, so you can then deserialize it or parse it in case of Python, and then you want to work with concrete types, streaming probably is not a good choice for this, because whether it's streaming or non-streaming, you still have to have this like entire response at the end if you want to be able to deserialize or parse it later. So yeah, probably my recommendation would be to use non-streaming scenario for that. But I guess it depends just on your type of application. Maybe you always use streaming or something like that. So in this case, yeah.
Yeah, I think the nice thing too, to Dimitri's point, is you don't have to pick just one thing, right? So if I'm going back and forth with AI where I'm brainstorming, and again, I want streaming, so I don't have to wait for everything to push back in, right? All that chat, I can do that. But the nice thing with Semantic Kernel is I can use multiple models if I need to. So I can have one service and one model using streaming where I'm going back and forth with, let's say, an AI agent. So I can have this experience that feels more like someone's on the other end. Maybe it's a customer service chatbot, something like that. And then if I need to have a call that goes to full structured JSON for a different type of request, I can do that. So you have some good options there. All right, I see there's a good question in the chat. Is OpenAI real-time API support coming to SK? So for folks that are not familiar with the real-time API, it's a really cool new API. You may have seen during OpenAI Dev Days, even a few months ago, they showed it off. This is where you can have voice talk back and forth. So I can audibly talk to a model. The model can talk back at me, and I can say, hey, wait, stop, and it'll pause for me, and we can have this nice fluid conversation. So with that particular real-time API, there's a few things that need to happen to make sure that that works great. And in fact, let's see, Roger will probably jump in here in a minute too, but to make that really sing, what it is we've been talking a lot about streaming today. It's streaming both ways. So it's streaming from the user, from voice coming over to the model, and it's also streaming back out of the model in real time. So there's a few things, and actually a few reasons why we haven't jumped on that quite yet. One is we want to finish up the promises that we made to this community about getting the core things to 1.0 and make sure we're heads down focused on that. The other one, though, too, is when you have streaming to streaming, there's a lot of pieces that come into play, right? And for Semantic Kernel, because we are very enterprise focused, we want to make sure when we light up this real-time API for you, it has everything that you need. So there's the pieces around telemetry, like how do I get the token usage? What about if I'm talking back and forth with this particular model? I want to do things like auto function calling, right? I want to do plugin calls. I want to do all those things that you're used to so that we can solve real problems. So to get that working and plumbed in and making sure it has all those enterprise promises end to end, that's going to take some time. So that's why we haven't jumped on that yet, because we will do a few things, which we normally do for large new features like this. We'll do what's called an ADR. So we say as a team, here's the architecture that we propose. These are the things that we look at. We have a couple different options. You probably have seen these with some of the other work that we've done recently with things like the process framework. So we'll call out, here's how we think about it. Here's how we think it could be approached. We allow the community to provide feedback there. To get any other insights, and then when we do that, we'll push it out and get started on it, and either do that together or do that for our team with feedback as we go. So I'm going to paste in a link to our architectural decision records, our ADRs. So there's that. If you want to see some other ones. So we'll get that started probably after Ignites, where we'll do a full ADR, because it is a very complex thing to make sure that all those other pieces that you need to really go live in production work. It's certainly an awesome demo. It's super cool tech. We know this is going to be really impactful for things like call centers, really brainstorming. There's tons of use cases here. If you want to bring your agent into Teams, all these type of things where I want to interact with AI in a more natural way. So we'll definitely support that soon. But first off, we want to wrap up what we've committed to. Roger, anything I missed there that we should call out just from a complexity standpoint for that real-time API? I know you've taken a look at it.
Yeah, I would say that you covered pretty much all of it with perfectly. And the only thing that I would like also to mention on this is that we do have in our current APIs the breaking glass approach. So if you want to use a real-time API and don't want to be blocked, you can using the SDK clients that currently support this. And when you want to use a chat completion, you can use the same client and just get the real-time API from those clients from the SDK, so you don't get blocked by this at the moment. But everything that Evan just put there is definitely what we are kind of aiming to. So pretty much looking for good abstractions that not just cover OpenAI, but as well as this speech-to-speech streaming communications. We think about the abstractions of the contents, how we kind of think in something that will accommodate the current real-time implementations, as well as for other providers that probably will follow the standard that OpenAI just provided, just defined as a market standard. Yeah, that's pretty much what I could add to this, is that if you don't want to be blocked, you can use the breaking glass approach.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger. All right. What other questions? Feel free to, again, raise your virtual hands in Teams, or come off mute, or put a question in the chat. Oh, sorry. Yeah, good question. So the question is, hey, what is this? It's breaking glass. This is where if we have abstractions across tons of different SDKs. There are times where you say, oh, some new thing came out, how do I use that SDK, or some SDK that maybe we don't support yet? What is that like? So we call that breaking glass, so that you can go directly to the SDK. Roger, I don't know, do we have a sample or anything out there of, I guess it's a little hard because it's.
Yeah, I can explain in an easier way. So we have normal APIs where you provide specific parameters for creating your chat completion service, for example. And one of those APIs allow you to provide an OpenAI client So this is what we call breaking glass. So you can have your OpenAI client created on your side with those real-time APIs that you want to use individually, and give that OpenAI client that you created into our APIs to have your chat completion service. So this is pretty much a breaking glass approach, where you use something internal from SDK, and you can have this flexibility. That's overall. I can point now links where we have those APIs examples.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger. All right, good questions. What other questions do we have today, or any guidance that you're looking for? So like we mentioned at the top, we'll have, and hopefully you check out our Learn site. We're constantly evolving that to add in more and more content for you to make it easier for you to get started, especially if you don't want to dig around in the repo. So you have that option now. We'll continue to evolve that as we have new pieces come out. And we'll also highlight those during this call each week. Any other questions today? Okay. Well, what we'll do then is we will wrap up office hours for today. Again, we'll have additional office hours tonight, like I mentioned, at least tonight Pacific time. So in another 8 hours or so. So if you have any colleagues and they want to jump on that one, they can definitely do that. So if not, we will see everybody next week. Thanks for all the great questions today.